everybody, and our guest today is Caliph. Caliph is the host and creator of the Real Hard Money podcast, a podcast that has a lot of interesting guests, and also me. With a passion for Bitcoin education and no-nonsense approach to hard money principles, Caliph has built a platform dedicated to exploring why Bitcoin represents the pinnacle of sound money. His podcast featured insightful discussions on Bitcoin's role in global economies, critiques of fiat system, and strategy of navigating the evolving crypto landscape. Drawing from his experience and a community of over 2,600 followers on X, Caliph connects with guests and audience worldwide to demystify Bitcoin and empower listeners. Today, we will talk about his journey, the role of Bitcoin education, and the need of more voices to spread the word of Satoshi. Caliph, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. That was a great introduction. Thank you for having me.
And thanks for being here. As I told you when I was a guest in your podcast, I was willing to have you in my show, in my stream. Now we are with a little bit of difficulties because Facebook, YouTube banned our channel. We start with a new channel, so I hope we are streaming on X. I'm testing a couple of things, and let's see if we are live on X.
Okay.
I think that, no, there is a problem with the video, so let me check. I think that there is a problem with the video, so I will start. Let me check one thing. So let me check because I think there is a problem with the video.
Sure.
Let me see if everything is okay. Let me check if everything is okay. No, 1 second. Let me check if everything is okay because it's not transmitting the video. Let me check. Let me check if we are live. Yes, I think we are live on YouTube. So let me check. I don't know why it's not connected.
We're live on YouTube.
Yes, we are live in another YouTube, but I don't know why it's not. Okay, so I will pin from my profile. I will delete. So I will put on X. Yes, I put this in YouTube. Okay, we have now we are live. Okay, so again, sorry for the technical problems, but it is what it is. We are just fixing a couple of things, but with the time it's gonna be better. So I already introduced our friend Caliph. Then I will edit everything, and we are gonna upload in YouTube. So the first question, Caliph, that I do to everyone is, how are you orange peel?
How was I orange pilled? Oh, how was I orange pilled? You know, okay. So it's a good story, actually. I was orange pilled together with my son. So I was looking for a soft pirate service to get UFC fights, and they only offered it in Bitcoin. Now, I've heard about Bitcoin previously before that because I was formerly a computer programmer, a Java developer. But I never paid it much mind. I thought it was just some internet magic money that, you know, us nerds were doing over there in that side of the internet. So I never really paid it much mind until I had to pay for something with Bitcoin. And then I paid for it, and it was cool. It was great. I got my pirated services. Don't tell anybody. But I showed my son when I did it. I showed my son And I said, look, this is Bitcoin, it's cool. And it's the first time I went to Coinbase, and it's the first time I bought Bitcoin and transferred to the wallet. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And I did all of that with my son. So he remembers this very vividly. And then my subscription ran out. So I had to buy it again. And I noticed that the Bitcoin price was the same, but the USD price went up after 1 month, and it was twice as much. And I said, wait a minute, what the hell is going on? So me being from the hood, I'm going to be like, I'm going to try to flip this. I'm thinking, so automatically I didn't go into like Bitcoin maximalism. Nobody goes straight there, right? I thought maybe this is something I could flip. Because if I could buy it now and then sell it for two, buy one and sell it for two, that's a flip all day. And I just that got me into it, and I started learning about it. And then I ran into Max Kaiser talking about Bitcoin, and I just started researching. And I ran into Mike Maloney. I don't know if you know Mike Maloney. He's very much into gold and silver, but he taught me a lot about what money was. And in that regard, I went down that what is money rabbit hole. And is Bitcoin money? Well, if Bitcoin's not money, then what is money? And Mike Maloney has a great 8-part series, and this was 2017. So I went down a rabbit hole, and I said, wait a minute, this thing is more than just a flip. This is bigger than that. This could be really something. And so I took out a loan. And I bought Bitcoin with that loan. And at the time, when I first saw Bitcoin, it was 1,000. And then by the time I came back and tried to buy the service again, it was 2,000. And then by the time I bought it, it was with the loan, it was 4,000. So that loan I paid back, and it like from that price point, how much times? 20 times my investment from 2017. This was early 2017 before it ran up. So I was there at the run up on 2017 I saw it at 1. My son and I found it at 1. And then I bought it around 4,000. And then it, as you know, went up to 20,000. I thought I was a genius. And then it crashed all the way back down to 3,000, right? But through that whole time, I just continued to study. And I got so involved in it that I was like, this is something that I need to share with people. This is bigger than just trying to get rich. And I began a channel actually in 2017. And just like you, I got canceled on YouTube, but I had 7 years of content on there before I got canceled. So I started over with Real Hard Money podcast not too long ago. And you were my second guest on my show. Thank you very much for that, sir.
Excellent. And thank you very much for inviting me. I'm always, I love being in podcasts because I love speaking. And now in my podcast, the guest speaks more. And how was this process? Why did you start the Harmony podcast? What are your objectives on this podcast? Walk us through around this project.
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, this it started out as like a money-making thing. I wanted to make money with it. And then it evolved into, hey, this could be like generational. This can be, I could retire off of this if this thing really goes how I see it going. And, noticing that, this thing is, you start learning about the hard limit and the decentralization. And why is that important? And then why was it created? And if I would have just taken the time in 2013 or even earlier in 2009 to just read the white paper, it would have been a different story. But I got to it in 2017 and I thought I was late. I thought I was late in 2017. And but the more you look at Bitcoin, the more you understand you're not late to it. You just get to it when you get to it. You find it when you find it. The aha goes off, and no one else can really make you get that aha. You get mentors. You get people like Max Kaiser, Stacy, Mike Maloney, and Andreas Antonopoulos was a big proponent for me because he never discussed the price. And this to me became such a bigger thing than just making money, just getting rich. It's such a bigger thing. And I am from a very impoverished neighborhood in Newark, New Jersey, in which I've seen, I've grown up in between two abandoned buildings and across the street from a cemetery. Drug addicts and drug dealers and stolen cars everywhere. And, I saw how bad life could be in America, in the urban inner city. And I knew people were smart, but we're kind of trapped in this system of doing a cycle, repeating the same errors, never getting ahead. My mother herself, she having a job, but not able to provide, the lights getting turned off, the water being turned off, even though, my mother was a good person, a good worker, law-abiding citizen, paid her taxes, hard to get ahead, It shouldn't be like that. Back in the day, it was one breadwinner per family, and you can get a house with a 2-car garage, white picket fence, and 2.5 kids, right, with a pet. Now that is gone. That American dream has died, and I understood that in 2017 because of Mike Maloney, because of Andreas Antonopoulos, because of Max Kaiser and Stacy. And they opened my eyes. And when I would say to my friends and my family, like, the American dream is over, it's over, they wouldn't understand what I was saying. And then when I would talk about inflation, it doesn't really soak in. But I think they're starting to come around now. And but to kind of put a bow on that and to wrap it all up is that I thought it was bigger than just getting rich, and I thought I needed to share this message and get ahead of it. And even from 2017 until now, I so dumbly thought this was oversaturated. By like 2018, 19, I was like, doubting whether I should continue with the channel and, whatnot, because it had the run up and then the crash and then interest faded. But so many people still don't understand what this is. It's much bigger than just an investment. It's much bigger than number go up. It's a evolutionary step, is how I see it. So it just came. You know how it is. The reason why you're doing it, it kind of infects you, and it's like when you get it and it touches you that way, you have to spread the message. You have to spread the gospel, and that's why I'm here, and that's why I do it.
Yes, that's the point. And I agree with you. When you start going to Bitcoin, you said that you found trying to find a pirate transmission for UFC. I'm a big fan of UFC as well. So I'm usually with now I moved to a new apartment, and I when I hire the cable TV, I say I only want the UFC. I don't want football.
Right.
I don't want anything. I only want the UFC. But in the past, I used to look for these pirate links for the UFC. And when you discover Bitcoin, you see this opportunity. You say, oh, I'm going to get richer with this. But then you start going into the rabbit hole and discover that this totally different animal, and you start learning about economy, start learning about your life, start learning about many other things
Yeah.
that without Bitcoin you wouldn't have learned, right?
Right. Absolutely.
And you as an American, I think that you might have my same age. I'm 44. I think that you as an American, you have been grown through this time where the American dream was possible. You were born in the country of your opportunities. How have you seen the country? Because now you're not living in America. How long did you since you left America, and how have you seen the country going that way, this down spiral?
That's a great question. That's a fantastic question. And this is what I try to talk to people about. Like I said, the American dream is dead, at least in the practical sense. You know, I think we can all live to the our higher angels, like Obama used to say, and principles to have the ideals of America still be there, and the American exceptionalism. But that that doesn't exist. That's just the story that's being told. Exceptional in what way? We're not the number one education. We're not the number one healthcare. We're not the number one in technology. Well, Silicon Valley still trumps a lot of things, but the advancements you know, are happening outside. If you look at the infrastructure that is being built in the world, especially in China, they look light years ahead of us. It's much more advanced than China and other Asian places like Singapore,
Let,
even
let me
here.
do a let me do a little interruption now that you say China. I'm in Hong Kong. I'm next to Shenzhen, that is Silicon Valley from China. And every
Yeah.
time I go to Shenzhen, it's like traveling 10 years in the future. And on Sunday, I went with a
Yes.
friend and we were riding this robo taxi. It was amazing. It was incredible.
Yeah.
So continue.
Yeah. So you know what I mean? And it's kind of like, you kind of be like, am I being lied to? You kind of feel that when you start traveling. One of the things was that I started traveling when I was younger. And I was a younger man, and I started seeing things outside of America and how people viewed America also, but also how people lived outside of America. And I would go to places like Colombia, Colombia, developing country in Latin America. Um, but you have all these negative things being fed to you from the news and the movies and the media about Colombia and Latin America. Sure is there violence there, sure is there drugs and criminal activity, yes, but I grew up in that in my own home in Newark, New Jersey, right next door to New York City. And I grew up in the New York metro area at a time before it was Disneyfied, when going to Times Square was not a very safe thing to do. You had to be on your P's and Q's. You had to know um, your surroundings. It was a lot of pornography, peep shows for 25, 50 cents. People were still flashing people on those streets and stuff like that. It was, if you ever look at like New York in the 70s and 80s, early 80s, it doesn't look anything like today. And it was kind of like the Wild West. So imagine in Harlem and the Brooklyn and the Bronx and Newark. So Newark is kind of like a satellite of New York City. They call it the sixth borough. There's 5 boroughs in New York City, and we're the sixth. So growing up in that, I was not deterred from visiting Colombia myself to see it. And I just like the way that people didn't need a lot of money, as in America, to live and be happy. I enjoyed the way that the people in Colombia lived, and they gathered, and they were warm. They were much warmer than my experience in the United States. And to have fun, to go out in America, when I moved to Miami, for example, you'd have to spend $1,000. You want to get a table, you want to get a bottle, and all this stuff like that. It's like keeping up with the Joneses. And in Colombia, and you go outside of America, they're just happy to gather. You don't have to be in a club. You could just gather and have some beer, cerveza, and some, steak and barbecue, and you have a party right there. And it's like that mentality was what attracted me there. But then I saw that you can have your quality of life can be very, very much better than in the United States for very much less money. So, for example, in Miami, I was paying like $3,000 a month for a 1 bedroom, and a 1 bedroom apartment. $3,000 a month here in Thailand, you'll have a mansion on a cliff, uh, overlooking overlooking the ocean. You'll be in a villa, you know, um, with the pool and the internet included, and it's furnished, and you know, you can have a chef, you can have a driver.
Yes, of course.
That's unheard of.
I
So
remember when I
why
lived in Thailand.
so why
Yes, I
why
remember.
why is it so exorbitant to live in America? Well, it used to be the land of opportunity. And then in 1971, as you know, and I know, but maybe the audience doesn't know that, we got off the gold standard and things went haywire. We were not tied to anything real with the fiat dollar, the US dollar, and then and we enjoyed the privilege of being on the world reserve currency. So even though I did grow up in a less fortunate place, I still grew up in America, and I enjoy that um, kind of arbitrage when you go to a different country, right? The same way that the Europeans do, in the same way the British do with the pound, is very strong outside of your country. So I recognize that, and someone on YouTube used to say, "Go where you're treated best." So I got out of America because I wasn't being treated very nice there, and I don't think you should have to pay so much money to live a decent life. You shouldn't have to work so hard to live a mediocre existence. It just shouldn't be. My mother paid $30,000 for her house, and now my son will not find a house under $500,000. The way it's going. So, is that right? Is the house 10 times better than it was in 1970? No. Did the house get up and move to a better location? No. Then what's happening? It's just like Jeff Booth says, if the market is not free, if things aren't reducing in price, if things aren't deflationary with the technology we have over 40 years, then it's a control system. Why isn't it getting cheaper? Because they don't want it to. And that's why I do my podcast. That's why I live out of America. And that's why I'm talking to you, the Bitcoin libertarian.
Excellent. And do you think that this American dream, because for us who are the people, I'm from Argentina, and for us the American dream was always our dream, like to
Right.
this dream.
Right.
You go to America, you work your heart, your ass off a lot. You start like probably cleaning dishes on a restaurant, and then you start doing business, and you have opportunities, and all that for us was a dream, the American dream. This is not anymore possible. And do you think that with Bitcoin, the American dream can be back?
Yes, that's a great point. Another great question. I grew up in that. I grew up with a lot of immigrants coming to my country to make a better life, and I've seen it firsthand. And I know so many people, immigrants, who pulled themselves up by the bootstraps and made something of themselves, businesses, and even become very wealthy, actually. And then they bring their families over, and so I've seen it happen, and through the 80s and the 90s and stuff like that. But honestly, I think America peaked in the 90s. um, by the time it was 2000s, I think it was started going downhill. as I see it, because it's exponentially harder. And that's not an exaggeration. It's exponentially harder now than it was in 1980 for someone to just make it in America, especially, because the real estate, to find a place to live is so high. A cup of coffee is $5. What? Why is that? Hot dog is damn near $8 on New York City streets. Like, why is that? What's going on? When I was young, a hot dog was 50 cents, and I'm not that old. I'm old, but I'm not that old.
Yeah,
uh,
of course.
but the beauty of Bitcoin is I do believe the American dream can come back, and not just for America, but for everyone. That's the beauty of it. There's nothing you can do right now in the world. There's no rebellion you could join. There's no protest you can put on. There's nothing you can do as punk rock and damaging to the system, the matrix, the financial global system, than buy Bitcoin and hold it in self-storage, self-custody. That's the most punk rock thing, most revolutionary thing, most rebellious thing you can do right now, that have the biggest, widest global impact in your world and mine. And the beauty of it is that once one person wins, if you, the Bitcoin libertarian, join, you win too. And everybody who else holds the Bitcoin, we all win. It's a win, win, win. It's not like in business and in capitalism, so cutthroat, where I have to, yes, put my service and good up into the market, but ultimately it's dog eat dog. It's somebody wins and somebody loses in that game, and that's the game they want us to run. But Bitcoin isn't like that. Everybody wins when you adopt it. The tide lifts all boats. It's a beautiful thing, and people need to understand that. And it's like people get kind of freaked out because they see like Bitcoin maximalists. It's almost like, and you can relate to this, it's almost become spiritual, because you start to discover your things about yourself that were new to yourself, and and then you start to look outside and say, why is it like this? It doesn't have to be like this. If we can have pure money, maybe we can have pure schooling. Maybe we can have pure politics without the corruption. Maybe we can have pure businesses or pure charities and organizations where they don't steal and have corruption and buying Lamborghinis instead of giving to the poor like they were meant to do. What if? What if? And there's so much hope on this side of Bitcoin, and it's very dystopian, I say, on the other side, in that fiat world. It's very dystopian place to live, and I can't even imagine if I didn't find Bitcoin. I'd be I, I'd be crying, brother. I'd be crying.
Yes, I want to point two things. When you said that the 90s were the peak of America, I think that the 90s were the peak of the world. Because I remember growing up in Argentina at that time was
Yeah.
very different. And I think that what you see in America is happening
Hmm.
around the world, because in Argentina, when we all are sons and daughters from immigration. Argentina had a huge immigration influx from Italy and Spain. We are half Italian, half Spanish in my case. And you see that these people, for example, especially my grandfather, that he came from Spain, being an ultra poor person. He was working on a factory with his 12 years old, and also polishing shoes to make some money for himself. And
Oh wow.
with this effort, he was able to buy his house, build his house. My dad went to school. My dad got a good job. Then my dad got married with my mom, and they bought an apartment. They moved to another house, and that was possible at that time in Argentina. Now it's impossible. A person, and my dad and my mom has now 4 properties. And she and my dad, they were just employees. There were no, my dad worked in a bank. My dad passed away in 2006, and he worked in a bank as an employee. My mom is a retired teacher, and they working hard, they could buy 4 properties. Now, even though if you are a manager in a bank of Argentina, you cannot afford
Right.
to buy a house. And I think that this problem is happening worldwide. It's not only America. Of course, in America, you can see it hard because you have this American dream that start from the lowest and reach the top by working hard. Now, the harder you work, things are getting even harder because of this, because of
Right.
fiat money.
Right.
And the other thing that I want to point is what you said. Bitcoin, when you're becoming maximalist, you become more spiritual. Bitcoin removes
It becomes spiritual.
the monetary aspect, and you become so
Hmm.
spiritual. You start valuing a lot of different things instead of the
For
price.
sure.
I don't know if it happened the same to you, and the people what that you speak on the podcast is the same.
Everyone that reaches maxi level, I don't think you are a true maxi unless you can talk about Bitcoin in a spiritual, like non-physical way, that it has changed you metaphysically, spiritually, like life changing. So many people change the way they eat, their habits. They start going to the gym. They have a longer time frame. They start thinking about your life. You know, are you a good person? Many people talk about money and making money and billions of dollars, and but do they ever ask, is it a good thing for the world? Is this a good thing? Bitcoin is a good thing. It's beneficial for the world. You know what I mean? So um I that's why I love it, because it's a win-win. It's you can be that kind of guru, internet guru, that selling the course, right? And he just wants to make money and kill it, kind of like Gary Vanderchuck, like, kill it, kill it, kill it, or even Hormezy. But at the end of the day, is what you're doing good? Because I can sell crack to you and make $1 million, but is that good? You see what I mean? So when I'm selling you, or I'm telling you about Bitcoin, and I'm educating you about Bitcoin, and I'm spreading the gospel, like I like to say, it's a good thing, because the gospel is the good news, right? And I'm not even a very religious person. I'm not. My mother was. She was Baptist Christian, and she raised us to be. But I'm not a very religious person. I like little bit from every religion, from Christianity, Islam, you know, Buddhist. I take a little bit of anything that I feel useful to me, but I feel like when you finally get Bitcoin, you realize it's like an onion, so many levels, and it means so many different things to so many different people. Like, the thing that made me to become a maximalist or have an aha moment might be the different than what made you have the aha moment. But I do believe I spoke to a man from Argentina when I was in Miami. He was retired doctor, and he lived with his daughter in Miami because she was doing better than he was at the time. And I said, why not? And he shared his story with me, that the currency in Argentina collapsed and took away his life savings, just like that, and took away his 40 years of work, just like that. Now, do they give him his 40 years back? No, it's gone. What does that mean? That means you was a slave for whoever just took that money, just like that. So I don't, I don't want to be a slave. I don't, that's a hard connotation for African Americans, especially. I believe African Americans Latinos, Latin Americans, anybody in the global South that has been um, stolen from, the resources stolen from, amongst other things that are being stolen, should look at Bitcoin harder, even harder. We should embrace it even harder. You know, look at what we see the game play. We see the playbook. This is the only thing that counterattacks the playbook. The only thing that counterattacks people stealing your wealth and your time. It's the only thing. Name another thing that does what Bitcoin does. Nothing. And then, you know, you talk about other assets you can invest in: real estate, stocks, Apple, Meta Planet, whatever, not Meta Planet, but Meta, Facebook. What does that do? Sure, that might increase your money overall, or your fiat dollars overall, but what about purchasing power? You know, and what about, you know, all the things that it, that's just continuing the system. And when you start to think like that, that's how you know you're tiptoeing into the maxi waters. If you're like, I don't want to continue that system. I want to live and work in the new system, in a system that is good for everyone, a Bitcoin system. So, you know, I started to focus all my efforts on Bitcoin and podcasting. And, you know, sure, I am in the marketing world now and I have clients, but I don't want any more clients, not for marketing, unless it's Bitcoin marketing. You know, I
Yes.
have to be in the Bitcoin world now. If it's a new venture for me, I have to be in this other world of full of light and hope and prosperity and abundance for all, not just for some very few people at the tippy top of the pyramid, you know, closest to the money printer and all of that stuff. So to me, it's a beautiful thing to share. And it's like, you know, we all benefit, we all prosper.
Yes, I agree with you with this point. When all the people, when you come to Bitcoin, all of us benefit. It's not like selling a course, like, okay, I need to sell you
Right,
something, probably
right.
like I give you something to give me money. But with Bitcoin, it's like
Hmm.
we all benefit. With
Yeah,
more people coming into Bitcoin, we are
yeah,
all. I love to say we are all nodes of the Bitcoin network, and with much
yes.
nodes, the network becomes stronger. So I always encourage people to start posting on X, start doing podcasts, uh, because your energy change. It happened the same to me. Like for me, it's I talk about Bitcoin mostly all day. So I'm preparing the podcast. Of course, I need to work other things because I need to get money to pay my rent and all this stuff, but it is what it is. But
Mm.
it gives you another energy. You can talk, for example, now it's 8:39 p.m. And I'm still here talking to you. Then I record another stuff talking about Bitcoin. And that this gives you another energy because you know that you are working for a better future. You are contributing for a better future for everyone.
Yes, absolutely. And then you realize when you really start getting into it that it's less about the number go up, although that's the most sexy thing. That's the sexiest thing, is the price. It's the least interesting thing to me. And so many other interesting things about Bitcoin: the decentralization, the fact that nothing can stop me from sending you value. No one can stop that. I can send it right to you. I don't have to ask permission, beg for an account. Oh, please, like here in Thailand, you know, it's difficult for foreigners to get an account. Rightfully so. You got to set up and all that stuff like that. But even back home, you know, you have to beg for an account. There's no guarantee you go to a bank and they give you an account. If they, you have to show proof of address. You have to show proof of this, proof of that. I don't need all of that. I just need a Bitcoin address, free, and I can send it to you very cheap. And if it's on the Lightning Network, it's instant and it's almost free, right? And that part is very underappreciated in my opinion, because look, right now, if the government so determined that I broke a law or I said something they don't like about a country that they would rather I say not say something about, they could freeze my account, right? They could lock me up. They could take my home. They could do a lot of things to just turn me off as a person, make me destitute. And you can't do that with Bitcoin, at least not nowhere near as easy, right? So my Bitcoin and cold storage is the biggest FU to the system, and also at the same time, the biggest comfort to me and my soul, knowing that I have value placed somewhere that it respects my time, it respects my energy. It will never cut me off from the rest of the network, no matter what. It doesn't care. It just verifies. We don't have to trust each other. It just verifies. Long as we play by the rules, it's rules without rulers. And I think ultimately, this is why Bitcoin will win. I always say two things. Bitcoin will win because of two things. One, they must print money. They have to do it. It's a feature of the system, not a bug. They must print money. And Bitcoin is historically the biggest winner of the money printing, right?
Exactly.
Real estate goes up, stocks go up, but Bitcoin really goes up, right? So I think it just sucks in that, and it's a mirror to the financial irresponsibility and poor custodianship and straight up corruption, because the inflation is a tax on all of us. They raise the prices of things, but they never raise our wages at the same rate, right? So it's going like that, the K-shape they call it. So that's one, they must print. It'll never not be like that until we switch over. They must print. If they do not print, what happens? 2008 happens, right? We get the global financial crisis, very bad, all around the world. I know you guys felt it. We felt it. Also, the whole banking thing that happened in Greece and Cyprus, where they had the bank runs and the bail-ins, where they couldn't get their own money from the banks, right? That's part of that whole money printing scheme. So that's number one. And number two, we don't trust each other. We don't trust each other. And maybe we should, maybe we should not. But with Bitcoin, we don't have to. Putin is not going to trust Trump. Who's going to trust the United States after the United States has went back on their word countless times? Putin doesn't trust Trump. They were not supposed to progress NATO past you and try to get Ukraine. Ukraine was a red line. There was an agreement made by Russia and NATO, all the NATO countries, but especially Germany, in which they blatantly disregarded the agreements twice. So why would you trust America? I mean, honestly, no one should trust America. If you looking at it with a very real historical lens, no one should trust America. China shouldn't trust America, and the China and Russia have been demonized by American media and politics, and I grew up into that. And I grew up thinking that Russia is the enemy and China is the enemy, and the guy with the turbans on, like in the movies, they're the enemy. No, they're competitors in a global free market. But the United States made them the enemy because that's what they needed to do to feel like the hero when they go in and do their terrible deeds. We have to fight the enemy. You see what I'm saying? So they had to create the other, right? For them to continue this colonial empire dominance And I just don't believe in that anymore. And I don't think that's a good thing. And it's clearly not a good thing when you rape and pillage other countries for their resources and things like that. So no, I don't think you should be able to trust America, and we shouldn't have to do that to interact with our money. We shouldn't have to trust you. Bitcoin is trustless, right? You think Russia trust Donald Trump and the West after they put all these sanctions and Swift sanctions? You think Iran trusts Trump and after they got bombed for no reason, unprovoked bombing? Come on now. If I was them, I wouldn't trust America. So that's my two things. We must print, number one, and we don't trust each other. So we have to settle on something that we don't need to trust. We just verify. And it's staring right in the face of BRICS, all the BRICS nations. They're starting to trade with oil, with Bitcoin and other crypto, but they'll figure it out. It's Bitcoin. Put it on a Lightning Network, or don't put it on a. If you want to move billions and billions, hundreds of billions, doesn't matter if it gets there in 10 minutes or 10 hours. It's secure on that network. You don't need the Lightning Network to move billions and billions, right? But if you're doing regular transactions, Lightning Network is great. But ultimately, states are going to interact with each other on the Bitcoin network because it just makes so much sense. You don't have to depend on the SWIFT network, which is run by the United States. You don't have to trust that. You don't have to worry about going through sanctions, having sanctions placed on. They took 800, I believe something like $400 million of Russia's money. They just took it. It was frozen in the bank accounts and they just took it, and they're going to use it for the Ukrainian war against Russia. And they just were able to take it because they were seized. It was seized. Can't do that with Bitcoin. So I think people are going to, people are going to figure it out. One, they must print. Two, we don't trust each other. That's why Bitcoin wins. Everything else is downstream from there, in my opinion.
Yes, of course, we don't trust, and also you cannot get the Bitcoin taken unless you lost it or you don't have problems with security, as the same as happened with the gold. And you mentioned the Cyprus and Greece without being able to take the money of the bank. In Argentina, happened many times in my lifespan. I remember 2001, we were able just to retire $250 per week from the bank, so it was terrible. And talking about the Bitcoin, because I like what you said about you just need to download an app and you generate your keys, and everyone can use this in the world. I think that this is the ethos of Bitcoin, bank to bank. Do you think that now with all these flashy companies that are coming into the Bitcoin space, the governments, the big money from Wall Street, this ethos of Bitcoin, the decentralization, the bank is being lost? Because one of the things that I noticed, I saw the stream of the Bitcoin Vegas conference. It looked like an affiliate marketing conference, not a Bitcoin conference. So that was like, are we losing the main ethos of Bitcoin as Marxists, or do you think that this is a correct way to go?
I mean, that's another great question, and you have your finger on the pulse of what's going on. I ask the same questions of my guests, but I believe that's just part of adoption, right? It's part of open, free money that's censorship resistant, right? Not totally censorship proof, but censorship resistant, the most censorship resistant thing we have in this world, honestly. And I think that's just part of adoption. And not everybody's going to agree with your way of thinking, your politics, your ethos. But the beauty of it is Honey Badger don't care, right? Honey Badger doesn't care. And I think it's just inevitable that the people come for the greed and stay for the revolution. They're going to come for the greed anyway. That's the honey trap, in my opinion. That's the Trojan horse. Wall Street is going to come for the money and greed. And when they see that, you know, Tether is making $4 billion a quarter and Binance is making $4 billion a quarter, they're not going to sit on the sidelines and not make billions of dollars a quarter, right? They don't care what it is. You can be selling tuna tacos, but if you're going to make $4 billion a quarter, I was in Argentina, really good empanadas, really good, famosos, really good. I ate steak, I drank Malbec, and I ate empanadas, and I got fat. And you can sell empanadas and make $4 billion. As long as they make $4 billion, it doesn't matter what they're selling. So they're going to come, right? So it's the growing pains, but it's up to people like you and me to remember why Bitcoin was created and to remind people why Bitcoin is here. Because, for example, I like Michael Saylor. I think he's a genius. I think he's brilliant. I like what he's doing with strategy. I think it's financial engineering perfection, you know, bar none, you know. I think it'll be in the history books. It's a historical thing we're witnessing with him. They're going to be the #1 company in the world by market cap, and I think by a lot. And I'm not the only one that thinks that. The people that have been watching and paying attention, they're going to be the biggest company in the world on the S&P 500 and NASDAQ. They're going to be bigger than Apple, Facebook, Tesla, NVIDIA, you name it.
Yes.
I own their stock. Is that stock the same as owning Bitcoin and cold storage? No. I might make more fiat units with owning that stock, but my freedom units go all the way down because they can freeze the hell out of my Robinhood account or my Fidelity account. They could freeze the hell out of it with a flick of the switch, press of a button, right? So that's the thing. When you say I have $1 million in MSTR and I have $1,000 of Bitcoin. Well, when they freeze that MSTR account, you're going to wish you had more money or more value in Bitcoin. You're going to wish you had more Bitcoin, right?
Yes.
And so I position myself in that way in which I'm like, okay, if everything goes south, I have majority of my wealth in Bitcoin. I do have some riding on MicroStrategy because I have conviction and belief in the jockey and also the horse. The horse is really Bitcoin. So you know I believe in that. We believe in that already. And this is only possible. His financial genius is only possible because of Bitcoin. So this is why I continue to bet on MicroStrategy or strategy. And I think because Bitcoin is inevitable and because it's chained to time, it's a time chain. It's only a matter of time because until it comes to fruition that they are the biggest company in the world because of Bitcoin. You know what I mean? Yes, so yes. It's the easiest bet on Wall Street is to bet on Michael Saylor and strategy because Bitcoin is inevitable.
Yes,
and if you don't have the guts for it, you can just buy Bitcoin, right?
No,
I'm
that's
sorry.
the thing. I think that you need to understand Bitcoin first. You need to study Bitcoin a lot. And when you study, when you understand Bitcoin, how it works, then you need to
Hmm.
study MicroStrategy because people on Wall Street don't even understand what strategy is doing. And I agree with you. I also have MicroStrategy. I support, even though I'm a huge maxi, a Bitcoin maxi, I support these companies because they are the Trojan horse. They are making, we need to reach 8 billion people. We need to make
Right.
Bitcoin massive to all the people. And
Right.
with the mainstream is the way that we are going to be massive. I support the small circular economy in the middle of Africa, Thailand, Indonesia. But with all my respect to them, they are not going to do the revolution. The revolution is going to come with the big money and the mainstream coming to Bitcoin. But again, we don't have to lose the view of Satoshi, the ethos of Satoshi, and what Bitcoin is about. And if you want to invest in MicroStrategy or Meta Planet or how is the new name of the blockchain group, Capital B, or the Smarter Web
Right.
company, it's okay. But you need to
Hmm.
understand that you are investing in these companies to grow your fiat. You with Bitcoin, you're buying freedom. So that's the point. You need to
Right.
study Bitcoin, own Bitcoin,
Right.
and once you have your own Bitcoin secured, that is going to be for
Right.
your next your generation, then you can bet on these companies that I agree with you are a safe bet. We trust the horse because the horse is Bitcoin, and we trust the ride, the
Right.
jockey. So I think that that is the best. And let's talk about
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Hello.
I agree. Go ahead. Yep.
Let's talk a
I'm
little
here.
bit about your podcast because we don't have too much time. So I want to talk a little bit about your podcast, talking about the episodes, the guests that you have. Which is your favorite guest or episode, removing me, and what are the key takeaways that you get from all your guests?
I'm not even playing. You're one of my favorite guests because you have so much
Thank you.
passion and you talk unbridled about it. And there's a joy about it when you talk about it. So I'm not even, audience, chat, please bear with me. I'm not even BSing. I'm not gaslighting. He's one of my favorite. He was my second guest, and he was like really, you would so uh congenial and like, simpatico, right? You're so nice that, like, yeah, sure, I come on your show. Hey, you're a Bitcoiner. I'm a Bitcoiner too. Like, let's do it. And it's like, that's how it is, right? So I feel the camaraderie with you, but also you had great stories. And I got a lot of feedback from you. People were like, hey, I like that guy's energy. Um, all of my guests, the thing is with my guests, my show is that no matter who you are, I want to speak. If you're a Bitcoiner, I want to speak to you, but not just about number go up. I want to hear about if you're a maxi, why are you a maxi? Is it affecting you in spiritual way? Like just recently, I was just editing Jeff Gucci Long's video that he did with me, and he talks a lot about the spirituality of Bitcoin and like, the other things about Bitcoin besides the price and like, the freedom that it gave him because he had time to think about other things and expand his mind and become a free thinker. And when you're a free thinker, you look better because you're eating better and you're working out and you're doing all these other things. And I talked to the Bitcoin Army, Michelle O from the Bitcoin Army. You know her. She's a great woman. She's a mother. This is real life. That's why I call it real hard money, because I want to talk about the real stories behind Bitcoin. I want to talk about, like you said, what was your orange pilling moment? Why does it mean something to you? Because you know, some Bitcoiners are family people. Other Bitcoiners are not, just starting out and they don't have a family. Everybody has a little bit different story, even though we have the commonality of being humans and we all want mainly the same things: family, you know, a good life. We want to get married, have some kids. And in places like Japan and Korea and other places, the fertility rates are going down. Why? Well, most of the number one reason is they can't afford to have kids. What a terrible thing. What a terrible thing to not have the joy of a baby in your life because you feel like you can't afford it. What a horrible dystopian world to and that's the trajectory of the world we are in now. We need to get off of that. So I love talking to people like yourself. And you yourself, you told me one of your stories was that many times you've seen the Argentina peso crash. Many times, not just once, twice. I think 3 times you've seen it.
Three or
We
more,
don't.
yeah.
In America, we don't know about that. We have that privilege, but it's a slow motion crash for us, right? People don't realize just 2020, the dollar's lost almost 50% of its purchasing value in the last 5 years. What the hell is that? You know, that's not sustainable. Why would you work for something to be paid in that? That's the problem. People don't understand the problem. And that's why we're here talking to them. And I just like to hear the real stories on my podcast. So that's why I call it Real Hard Money. And I think the guests, they kind of appreciate how like refreshing it is to like talk about real things and you know, it's more casual and more relaxed than maybe you might see in other podcasts. But at the same time, it's not like a bro podcast, like, you know, number go up. I'm not charting. I'm not doing charts. You know, we do price
Yeah.
predictions, but it's just for fun and imagination. Because honestly, when you really understand Bitcoin, you know that the current price doesn't matter as much as what it means to you and your family and your dreams and your hopes. It's bigger than that.
Yes, it's the same approach that I have with my podcast. I want to bring people to talk about Bitcoin. If you go through all the episodes since I started in 2023, and in the past, I used to ask the last question that was 100K when, because it was all
Right.
this hype of when
Right. Yeah.
100K. But if you go through all the episodes, we didn't talk about price. And that's why I'm starting now the Bitcoin Libertarian in Spanish with the same approach, because in English, we have many podcasts that talk about that more lifestyle stories for Bitcoiners. But on the other
Yeah.
side, in Spanish,
Yeah.
we have a lot of content that talk about very hard things like self-custody, running a node,
Hmm.
the wallets, all the stuff. And then we have all this crap that they are talking about prices, prediction, trading, and all the stuff. And I want to change that. I want to
Right.
say, why are you going to trade the most precious asset in human history? Why are you going to do graphics on Bitcoin? Why are you going to sell Bitcoin? It's crazy. So that's why I'm starting my podcast also in Spanish, trying to, and it's better because I can speak my own language. And it's sometimes I try to say things in English, but I'm frozen because it's not my
Yeah.
mother language. But in
Ah,
Spanish, it's a flow. It's amazing. So I agree
es
with you. I think that
maravilloso. Es
maravilloso.
maravilloso.
It's not as maravilloso is not as a word from Argentinian Spanish. In
No.
Argentina, we say copado, something like that. But
Copado.
yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. I think that we need more voices. I don't know if you feel the same, because again, we need more
Yeah.
voices. We need to reach more people, and we need
Yeah.
nodes on the Bitcoin network.
Yeah, because the way you say it or present Bitcoin will be different than how I present it, right? And they might not get it the way I say it, but the way you say it, you know, you
Mm-hmm.
know, what did you say? It was
Mm-hmm.
copio, copio.
Sorry?
You said you didn't use maravilloso, you use copio,
Copado.
copado, copado,
Copado.
copado. See, see
in
that you say, "Hey, amigo, copado," and then okay, I get it now. Entiende, entiendo.
Yeah, and I think that every person has their own story, their own approach, their own
Right.
way to communicate. Probably I'm
Right.
so passionate because of my Latin, my Hispanic roots. Probably other
Hmm.
guys are more structured, are more different, but I think that we are all nodes of the Bitcoin network. And again, as
Yes.
much bosses we have, it's gonna be better for the environment. And talking about the podcast, any plans for the future?
Yeah. So, I mean, I just want to grow it just like you. I see you getting busy on this, on the X, man. You're going crazy. I love it. You know, and there's, that we're forming kind of like a network of people that we're coming up with, and which I love too. We all cross promote and help each other out. I'm just getting more and more people, interviewing more and more people. I would like to do some things that are not um, common. I want to do some. I'm starting some things like I have a series coming up where I'm highlighting the women in Bitcoin, and not crypto, but Bitcoin specifically. And that's what I want to. One of the things is to clarify why it's Bitcoin and not crypto. That people get confused with that and what that really means. And it's a significant thing. It's not a trivial thing. It's not just a meme. It's not just a cool thing to say to ratio somebody or cut them down. It means something, and it's important. Why Bitcoin and not crypto? But also like to bring the women's voices into the fold, where because we are on a planet of men and women, they're half the population. They do a lot of the spending and a lot of the. I think they're pretty important. So women needed to be highlighted and appreciated. Like there's a woman Stark. I think her name is Stark, and she's part of the Lightning Network. She's one of the lead developers on the Lightning Network, and I would just love to have her on my show as one of my first guests in this series. And you know, I like to do other things. Like I like to when I have the guests on, I do the lightning round, and I ask them lightning fast questions, kind of like in the ethos of like having a lightning transaction where it comes at you fast and it's settled, uh, final settlement even faster, right? So it's like bam, bam, get just give me the answer and then we move on, you know. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, we do things like that. And also look forward to we have I just started a Bitcoin meetup here on my island here in Koh Samui, Thailand, and which I'll be promoting more online and on X, and you'll see that. And hopefully, I'll have some guests like you maybe come on the big screen, cyber, and talk to the people at our meetups. And I think that'll be a really cool thing to have. So if you would be one of my first speakers
Oof.
at my Bitcoin meetups, that would be awesome.
Just let me know because for me it's amazing. I think that reaching Samui for me from Hong Kong, I don't know if we have flights to Samui because the Samui airport is a little
We
bit
do.
tricky.
No, yeah, you got to come from Bangkok, but
But because the
yeah,
Samui airport is operated by Bangkok Airways, so you need to fly there with Bangkok Airways, only from Bangkok and Phuket. You can fly
yeah.
to Suratani and take the ferry to Samui. Again,
Hey, you know very
if
well, huh?
I lived 4 years in Thailand and I traveled a
Oh,
lot
okay.
in Thailand. So I remember I've been in Samui a couple of times. I love Thailand. Thailand is one of my beloved places on earth, and I didn't came back since I moved to Hong Kong. But now I want to go because when I went to Argentina last time, I got my vaccine for the yellow fever because we are requested to enter with the yellow fever vaccine,
Vaccine.
and
Yeah.
mine was expired. So now I'm ready to go. I want to go, and let me know when you are planning. And I would love to go there. I would love to speak in the event. And again, it's like it's amazing. Thailand is
That
I
would be
love Thailand.
amazing. I was
I love
speaking
Thailand.
about maybe doing a presentation on Zoom, but I mean, it is 10,000 times better if you were in person. That would be great.
Of course, yes, yes. Let me think, because probably by for December, something like that, or early
Mm-hmm.
January,
Mm-hmm.
I can
Mm-hmm.
take a flight. I will convince my friend, my business partner, the other Bitcoin libertarian, to fly
Mm-hmm.
to Thailand. He also loves Thailand, and we can go there, hang out with Bitcoiners, and have a good time. And again,
Okay.
I love
Maybe
Samui,
I
I love
could,
Thailand.
yeah, man, maybe I can make it an event. Maybe I can get some other speakers coming out here.
let's
We'll see,
let's
but
talk about it.
you know.
Let's plan it. Let's plan it to make this amazing. There are a lot of Bitcoiners in Asia, in Thailand, in Indonesia, here in Hong Kong. So we can make
Oh yeah,
something
for sure.
something big. And by the way, are you coming to the Bitcoin conference in Hong Kong?
No, I'm gonna miss this one, but I think it's gonna be great.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be huge, and
Hmm.
I'm gonna meet a lot of people, because this time I have a lot of them in my podcast, and many of them are gonna come here, and I meet in person. It's gonna be amazing. So, anyways, looking forward to that event in Koh Samui. Let's talk about this. Let's plan together, and let's do something
Yeah,
big in Thailand and in
yeah,
Samui about Bitcoin. And let's dive to the last
yeah.
part of the podcast. Let's talk about the future of Bitcoin. What do you think about it?
Hmm. Well, I think it's here. I think people like you and I, we are helping to create it. Um, I think it's inevitable, but for the way it arrives in the future, for example, depends on us and how we get it there. For in particular, specifically, what I'm talking about is the whole confrontation or dispute between Bitcoin Core and um, Knox, right? So Bitcoin Core, their developers are doing something I would consider not too great for Bitcoin itself. They are allowing spam and other things inside of Bitcoin, and they're doing things kind of unilaterally. And I think this is the biggest attack vector for Bitcoin, are the people that maintain Bitcoin and the code. I think this is some, it kind of scares me because I don't know the resolution of this. The only thing that calms my nerves or gives me some comfort is that whatever they come out with or whatever they produce, these Bitcoin Core folks, it needs to be accepted by the miners in the community, right? And the nodes. We have to accept these changes. And so it ultimately, it does need consensus from the network, but it's scary, because Bitcoin is supposed to be this thing that's infallible and like, resistance to human error. But at the end of the day, we are humans, and humans are putting the code into the code base. And this is something that we need to pay Clint. That's why people like you and I, who are knowledgeable about why Bitcoin is here, we need to stay here and fight for the principles of Bitcoin: decentralized, free, open. And part of that being open is the block size, the maintain the ease of the common man to run a node. You see, Ethereum, you need like an enterprise to run Ethereum nodes because it's difficult for one individual to do. But I believe that we're going to get to a place where people are running nodes on their phones, and I believe they're doing that already. But it should be a place where it's easier and easier to run a node, not harder and harder, because running a node increases the decentralization and the security of it. So I think we need to look after that. But besides that, you already see it. Everybody bows down to Bitcoin eventually. Larry Fink, the biggest assets under management with BlackRock, has already bowed down to Bitcoin. He said he was wrong. I admire him for saying that. He said, "Hey, you know what? I was wrong." And Bitcoin is he said if you have a country that maybe has um, political things going on, or there's war, you can avoid some of that by investing in something that's not tied to any country or politics or agenda, like Bitcoin. And I think it's going to eat gold market cap. We're at 2 trillion now. Gold is like roughly 20 trillion. I think it's going to eat gold's market cap within the next 5 years. I think that can happen as things, because people overestimate what can happen in 1 year and underestimate what can happen in 10, right? So if you say 10 years, that's a no-brainer, because I think 1 million Bitcoin, $1 million Bitcoin, they say is when it eclipsed gold, right?
Yes.
And I think it happens before. I think 1 million happens before 10 years, don't you think? And
you remember what I said when you asked me in your show? I said 1 million this year. We are still in play.
this year,
We are
this
still in play.
year,
I think it's going to be closer than 10 years. I think that it's going to be closer than 10 years.
I don't know about this year. We got 4 months left.
Anything can happen, my friend. Anything.
People, right? People
that
forget how explosive Bitcoin can be, right? And it's not even a drop in the pool of money that's out there, that's inside of Bitcoin.
Last week, everyone was in fear because it touched 113K, and yesterday almost reached a new all-time high. So that's what happened with Bitcoin. So the explosive nature of Bitcoin probably is not going to reach 1 million this year, but the explosive nature of Bitcoin, it will make it reach 1 million much faster than everyone thinks. So
yeah,
I still
it can double. Bitcoin can double like that. People forget.
Of course,
you
odds
know,
are not high, but can happen this year. There are odds, and sometimes the horse that pays 1,000 to 1 wins. So that's the main thing. And to close the conversation, if you had the chance to sit down with Satoshi Nakamoto and have a coffee, what would you ask or say him, her, or they?
I would say, what's it like on your planet? Because I don't believe he was from here. I think he's an alien, honestly. I don't think that person was of this planet. Seriously.
I said that probably it's not a person from this planet, or it's a group of people, because to create something so perfect that you need to know about economy, you need to know about mathematics, you need to know about coding, you need to know about physics, you need to know about technology,
game theory,
you need to know about game theory, sociology, human
psychology,
behavior, psychology. So to create Bitcoin, you need to know a lot of things. So probably for me, I don't think that it's one person, it's a group of people. But if there is one person, probably it's not from this planet, or probably is religious.
So you agree with me?
Of course, I do. I'm not a religious person. I was grown up Catholic. Then I lost my faith. But when I became a Bitcoiner, I started. I cannot say that I have a religion, but I start to be more spiritual. And I have this. I explain about that. The forces of heaven, las fuerzas del cielo. So I now believe in many things that you cannot explain, and Bitcoin is one of these. So let's see what happens, and let's see what future brings. Caliph, anything else you want to add, and how people can contact you?
Well, no, I think that's everything. You can reach me at Real Hard Money on X, at Real Hard Money, one word, on X. And I'm also on YouTube at Real Hard Money Pod. And but I'm most frequent on X, and you can also catch me on Nostr. I'm going to post more on Nostr as well. So, but the jump off point, the hub for everything will be X. So come find me there. Send me a message, a shout out. You know, I love to connect with anybody, and if I can help you on your Bitcoin journey, shoot me a DM, and I'll see how I can help you with any questions you have. Reach out to me.
Excellent. Again, thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure having you in the podcast. And again, hope to see you soon. By the way, when you were speaking, I checked the flights, and we have direct flight from Hong Kong to Samui with Bangkok Airways. So
I'll check it out.
It's
They're making new flights to Samui. They're making new flights to Samui.
3 hours, 20 minutes is nothing. So it's worth a flight to go to this amazing island and talk about Bitcoin. Again, Caliph, thank you very much for your time. I wish you the best. I hope your podcast keep growing. And again, the best for you.
Thank you, sir. I'll talk to you soon.
Let's talk soon. And thank you very much to everyone who is on the other side. If you like the episode, please thumbs up. Remember, we now have a new YouTube channel that is Bitcoin Libertarian, not the Bitcoin Libertarian, it's Bitcoin Libertarian. Bitcoin Libertarian ESP is the version in Spanish that I need to upload content. Let's hope YouTube doesn't ban again, but if they ban us again, we are going to create a new channel because nobody is going to stop us. We are Bitcoiners, we are resilient, and we are here to end the fiat Ponzi scheme. Share this episode with the people you love. Share this episode with the people you hate, because we must reach 8 billion people and onboard 8 billion people into it. We'll see you in the next episode of our podcast. Stay humble, stack sats, and remember, we are Satoshi.